The three body problem is a problem because of the lies that are told about the nature of how everything is constructed within the universe. There wouldn't be a three body problem if you just told the truth about how mathematically it is impossible to maintain a universal structure or the orbital structure of the so called planets and the solar system without a very tight and concise mathematical equation. You're telling people that the sun is falling through space within the orbit of the Milky Way, which is spinning, which you are not entirely sure how. You say that it may be magnetic forces, right? In addition to all of these different unknown variables, as far as meteorites and all this stuff falling into the same orbit. So the sun itself is falling, right? And it's taking all of the planets in tow with it. But not only that, now you have meteorites and asteroids and rocks randomly entering this space and falling into the same orbit. So all of this space debris also is factoring into this, okay? And then you have it spinning through the Milky Way, which you're not entirely sure how it spins, what's outside of that, how it all works. Too many mathematical variables in order for you to determine whether or not this system is a tight math problem. In order for life to exist the way that we experience it in this earth realm, you have to have solid math or it's simply a lie. Has any of you ever been on the Galatron or one of those rides that uses centrifugal force to keep you stuck up against a wall? The actual magnitude of the force it takes, you cannot move in.
I'm stepping out. Me too. Me too. Stop! Stop! I'm stepping down! I am stepping down. Stop! 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 I'm in it! Stop!
That is centrifugal force, okay? And we are in a system that contains an atmosphere that actually has gravity, but what level of gravity enables you to be able to move within this system? It cannot be centrifugal force. There has to be a different level of gravity here that enables us to build, to move throughout the system. And also, there has to be a mathematical equation to our ability to do the different things that we can do within this system, okay? Within this atmosphere, within Earth's atmosphere, as we're falling through the damn galaxy, as you say. Just a bunch of lies and hokey. The earth in and of itself is heavy. All of the planets are extremely heavy in weight, okay? And you're talking about a force that is strong enough or is going to be strong enough to hold all of these things, not only in orbit, but keep them spinning perfectly. Anytime you would introduce a new variable, a factor within that spin and that gravitational force that's causing this centrifugal force that's spinning, it's going to disrupt the mathematics or the orbit of those planetary bodies. I don't care what it is. There has to be a controlled mechanism to keep everything spinning in the way that it does. If you introduce an asteroid that's humongous and it jumps into that orbit and starts spinning all of a sudden, as you guys say it does, that's going to affect the gravitational pull. It's going to move something out of the way because centrifugal force is set in motion and it pushes everything back within Earth's atmosphere. We have magnetic forces that keep us intact. Literally, there are forces that are holding everything together in terms of our bodies. You can't get down to the nitty gritty of the quantum existence of our reality and just say, oh, we don't know exactly how that all works, but somehow the equation just works itself out. No, there has to be controlled mechanisms within a system that keeps everything intact. And also, not only are we able to hold all our matter together, we're able to build and do different things, but it's all one math equation because everything works in tandem. As you're constructing a building, you're not necessarily changing anything within the environment. You're just creating a new dynamic within a closed environment. There is a mathematical equation to that. And in order for everything to remain in a constant, meaning that our matter remains stuck to these bones, there has to be math. If the planets are floating, as you say, and there's this gravitational force that's holding them all together, that means that you can't introduce anything else, not a rocket, okay, nothing into that space that would disrupt the flow or change the numerical equation because this is basic, simple math. If you enter new dynamics or new variables into the equation, it's going to change something about the equation. So if the universe or the solar system is structured through the Milky Way, falling through the galaxy, and that's a set thing, and then it's constantly pulling these rocks in tow and bringing in these meteorites and asteroids and all these different factors that you're saying exist, as well as all the new unknowns that you are constantly introducing into this equation that you say, oh, scientists just discovered. No, you are simply not able to mathematically calculate any of this or justify your math in any way. Let's use our minds, okay? Let's use the basis of what we know within this space to create different things that we're able to do scientifically and apply it on a universal level and see if it still operates. It cannot, okay? If you're talking about the math of a vortex, if you're talking about how vortexes actually function, what would cause a vortex, okay? What would cause something to spin? You're talking about these things on a level as if they don't exist on a smaller level. Everything is exactly the same mathematically and it functions exactly the same way, whether it's in the system or out of this system. Come on. In order for this law of energy can neither be created nor destroyed to actually function, it has to be within a closed system, meaning that energy is constantly moving in and out of existence within this space. However, it's never destroyed because we're in a closed system. So it's not escaping. It's not going anywhere. You're not going, your energy is not leaving and going to heaven in a realm outside of here. Everything is controlled mathematically because any other way it just doesn't work, because we wouldn't be able to do anything if any part of the mathematical equation of Earth's inner closed atmosphere or system changes. It would change or disrupt everything in this closed system. We're using a set amount of gravity. So you're telling me that we have these random asteroids and meteorites that are just randomly coming into the system, and sometimes aliens, you guys say, are randomly coming into the system, and you don't know, oh, there's things out there, and you having these whole, meetings talking about things that are coming in. So we're constantly having our gravity disrupted and things moving into this bubble or this space within the atmosphere of Earth that's protected by a magnetic sphere, right? And you're telling me that we're constantly able to keep this system going and keep all matter held together and everything in its place and continuously build with new things being introduced into the mathematical equation. That is simply not possible mathematically. Okay, it does not make any sense whatsoever. That would mean that something would have to equally leave out as things come in. Okay, and there's no guarantee of that if everything is so random. It's too uncontrolled in order for it to be a fact.